Got Thrones, a Game of Thrones podcast, is brought to you by Starbucks Winterfell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to GoT Thrones, a Game of Thrones podcast. I'm Alexandra August.
I'm Johnny Kolosinski.
And we are coming at you with our discussion of Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4, The Last of the Starks.
You can find this podcast online at gotthrones.com, and you can find us on social media at GoTHronesPcast on Twitter and Facebook.com/GoTHrones.
You can find me at ALXAugust on Twitter. That's ALXAugust on Twitter. And you can find my writing about Game of Thrones and various other genre topics at websites like CBR, Screen Rant, and Fandom.
You can find me online on Reddit and Twitter at Cycloptico, and I'll be writing a little bit more on entertainment on Medium/Johnny Kolosinski.
Very much looking forward to that. But let's get into other people's writing this week.
Yeah.
Specifically
D&D.
Yep.
I think that this episode doesn't... This episode was contentious, and I don't think it deserves the hate that it got, but at the same time, it doesn't live up to the spectacle we got with the Long Night, or the absolute perfection that was A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I agree. I've had to really try to unpack my feelings about this episode because it really, upon first watch, I think I was in a bad mood in general, and the back half of the episode broke my heart, and I had some very valid complaints with it, but I've kind of had to get some distance from it to really unpack how I feel, and I still don't care for it, but it's definitely an episode where I don't care for it because more of the moments didn't work than moments that did. There was just more, there was less that I liked in it and more that I didn't like from a technical standpoint. And this was the episode really for me where I felt the 6-episode final season, and where I think they could have used 10, maybe 8 at least. And we can get into that specifically as we jump into different parts, but I think both because it was just kind of a downer of an episode period, and it felt really compressed given the events that occurred.
Yeah,
that's what made me ultimately very negative about it.
I think that had they had a longer season and we got to see an episode where for the first time everyone was up the way they were in the first half, there was still there was Starbucks, and there was back and forth between Sansa Dany and Dany Jon. But I think if we'd gotten another Winterfell episode of, okay, we're dealing with this truth, Jaime and Brienne get to be happy for more than a day and a half, and Jon and Dany start to determine whether they're going to work this out or not. I think that might have made the dramatic shift halfway through a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, and I think a little bit more genuinely tragic, as opposed to what felt like, I think, Missandei's death, and despite amazing work by Natalie Emmanuel and a brilliant final last words from her. Last word, exactly. And then Rhaegal's death, they seemed very perfunctory. They did not feel earned at all.
Especially Rhaegal.
That I think, had we gotten like the following episode, we had one more episode where we had this episode where we see Jon and Daenerys try to work it out for a little bit longer. Maybe Sansa and Dany find another impasse post-battle after Sansa has seen what Dany's forces have sacrificed for her and has a little bit more compassion for it. I think had those moments been allowed to those relationships been allowed to stretch a little bit more for a full episode, and then they go to King's Landing, I would have been probably a little bit happier, but the pacing felt really off and just kind of brutal.
Yeah. I wonder if had they had an episode like Night of the Seven Kingdoms in season 7, if they would have been, and we're armchair quarterbacking right now, hardcore, but if they would have been more comfortable giving us more space with less action.
That's a good point.
Just because Night of the Seven Kingdoms, at least in my circles of the internet, was well received across the damn board.
Across the board. I can't think of a single person who wasn't in awe of at least one moment in that episode. 90% of them were Brienne getting knighted. Also, like, pour one out for the girls of Close the Door.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just...
I love you, ladies, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, highs and lows for you. I didn't... Because the episode was so compact, it turned Jaime's goodbye into a walk of shame.
Yeah, I think that was... Well, I think now that we've given our aerial perspectives, let's sort of get into some specific scenes. What did you think of the funeral?
Overall, it was a scene that got the job done. I liked it. It did a good job of showing the numbers of, yeah, we lost a lot. I don't, as I said last week, I think that as far as characters we lost, the show played it safe, especially with Tormund just bouncing.
Yeah.
And but the funeral itself worked.
I did. I thought it was pretty much how I expected them to open it. And specifically Sansa and Theon, I thought that was sheer perfection.
Yeah.
I've loved that relationship, even though it was a little bit, I think, just, again, this is just an amount of time thing, just a little bit underserved this year. But I thought, like, honestly, like, if Alfie Allen doesn't get nominated, I'll be super pissed. And I think Theon's arc thus far this season has been my favorite.
I think, with the exception of 5 minutes, it's going to be Brienne for me. I did think, I noticed that every episode so far has opened with a lot of silence.
That's interesting.
Long silence. We had the first episode that was the Daenerys coming into Winterfell. I don't recall the second episode. And then the third, did we open with Melisandre? Or did we open with the armies preparing?
I feel like I should know the third because I watched it 80 times. I don't know.
But either way, they took their time getting to the dialogue, and I think that's just been interesting that they've given themselves that much air.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely will say this season, despite how compressed it already feels, because they haven't covered, because there hasn't been a lot of time that's elapsed on the show, everything feels like it's tracking, like it feels like it's very focused. I'll give it that.
And also just the fact that we're concentrating on 2 or 3 locations tops really makes it a lot easier for the episodes to feel less disjointed than they sometimes did in season 5, especially.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm amused that The Last Hearth is permanently in the credits, apparently.
Yeah.
So moving on to the feast, I don't know if I guess part of the reason that I was really down on how down this episode was just that there was such a sense of victory after the Battle of the Bastards in particular, and a couple of other big confrontations. Like the first third or so of Game of Thrones is this long descent into tragedy that you think is going to stop at Ned, but it just gets so much worse in season 3 with the Red Wedding. And then finally, when they reach a rock bottom, it starts to slowly move to an apex. And I guess this episode kind of made me sad because I didn't feel like we got, it was such a costly the Battle of Winterfell was such a costly victory that it kind of undermined the Night King in another way. It undermined his villainy in another way. Like, we've killed him and he's gone, but now there's 3 episodes left and Cersei's still around. Mm-hmm. And so not only was he a much easier to defeat villain than we assumed he would be, we assumed he would be despite the cost, now even the victory of that is dampened.
Yeah.
Because everybody's still pissed at each other and nobody can get along. And the whole idea of last season, and especially the final episode of last season, was that we're all coming together. We have to come together in order to defeat this guy. And it makes me mistrustful of what the show is trying to say, or if they even have an idea of what they're trying to say, if that didn't bring anybody together. Yeah. Daenerys is still kind of...
Even for a moment.
Yeah, exactly. Even for a moment. There's no single moment of them cheering on Dany. Like, it's just a really sort of like that moment with Tormund blatantly
talking up the king in the north,
and Jon just kind of looking back at Dany and not being like, well, really, all the credit goes to the woman who gave me the dragon.
Yeah.
And so that was disappointing to see. But that said, I will say that it makes a lot of sense to me that Westeros as a whole and the North especially would not embrace Dany.
Yeah.
And I'm not totally upset at them bringing her down before they bring her back up one last time. So I like, in terms of an arc. If I'm hoping they do. I'll be really sad if we've watched her just slay,
descend into Targaryeniness.
Well, or just again. Okay, so another Ariel problem I have with this episode is that no one's being written at the top of their game. No one's being written as smart as they have been at all. And so Dany just kind of being, the fact that Dany wouldn't have the forethought when she said before, my brother told me stories of people seeing his victories in Westeros and, sewing Targaryen flags, and she's like, he was stupid. And yet here's a Dany who is surprised and pissed that no one likes her. And I get that it's more...
When she came in as a conqueror, even if she also came in as a savior.
Exactly. And I just feel like there's room for Dany. It's frustrating me that I don't feel like it's totally in character for Dany not to just at that point, seeing what she's lost, to not go to Sansa and Jon and be like, all right, you can keep the North. I can't hold it anyway. I would be holding it in name only. Like, it doesn't understand. I don't understand why she wouldn't. I don't understand why she wouldn't do that. I don't understand. Yeah, it feels like it's a sound diplomatic strategy. Or
you keep the North until it goes to my son. Yeah. Except for she doesn't think she'll have one.
Yeah. So, and I'm not trying to be black and white about this, but that was kind of, I feel like they've not sold me on the fact that Dany, Sansa, and Jon couldn't come to some kind of conclusion, because if they can't, like, what the fuck are we doing here? What have we been doing here for 7 seasons, if not to see these kids behave a little better than their parents?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So that was the feast for me. Gendry was really cute, though.
Gendry was really cute. I really liked Tyrion, Jaime Pod, Brienne. So did I. That was great.
Those guys are so good.
I liked most of Tormund.
Tormund's great at a party.
Tormund's great at a party. I didn't see the Starbucks cup.
Neither did I.
Or you would have heard about it immediately. And there was a mix-up that Gendry Rivers should have been Gendry Waters.
I know, Johnny, this is a question.
The show is literally unwatchable.
I know, like, Joe Dempsey is the only character in this show that sells me on his character better than any nitpicks I have. Gendry could walk in a fucking 10-gallon hat and spurs, and I'd be like, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, that works.
He could read an actual phone book in the middle of the Great Hall, and I wouldn't give a fuck. But I think also that credit, like, I'm also going to give credit to Sophie Turner specifically in her scene with the Hound, because I hated a lot of that.
Oh yeah,
but
that was probably I was biting my fingernails about what you were going to say just now.
Oh, I just wrote a piece about it today for Screen Rant. It's not up yet, but so I know a lot of people have said that it's not like a hugely original reaction. But first of all, the Hound's line, why she didn't just slap the shit out of him the minute he said, like, heard you were broken, and like,
yeah, that
was not surprised that D&D wrote this one, because it's asinine dialogue and not something that I feel like, I don't even think that's something Sandor Clegane would say in season 2.
Yeah. Maybe
season 1 after he mowed down that kid. But this is Sandor Clegane who stopped Arya from dying. This is him who, like, recuperated and had his quiet man moment and has got, like...
And who would have taken Sansa and been her protector.
Absolutely. And he's almost teasing her about it. And...
Yeah.
This show historically has proven it doesn't have I'm being nice, doesn't have a great understanding of female sexuality or trauma. And funny, if you've been listening to us for a couple of years, I was not somebody who had a huge problem with Sansa's rape in season 5. Retroactively, I have more of one, just kind of listening.
Because of the way it's grown, like, because it was a character development tool.
Exactly, because it really did become a plot device. We didn't see her with a lot of residuals. Well, I don't want to speak to that because I've not been through that kind of trauma, so I can't say that we didn't see her with residual scars, but that's a lot of the criticism that's been thrown at that in the aftermath of it. And so, and the big thing this week that people have been really up in arms about, and it's very, very, very important that they got this wrong, or very significant. Very telling, exactly. That when he tells her, heard you got raped and raped real good, that she kind of placidly says, well, you know, I wouldn't have, like, if those things hadn't happened, I wouldn't have become the person I am today.
Yeah, she basically said God never closes the door without opening a window.
And we spoke about this on Estradiol Illusions yesterday, that is to see, for lack of a better word, to see what, if any, good has come out of undergoing something like that is a coping mechanism, and I don't think a terrible one, and certainly a very personal choice. That's one thing, but I don't trust these writers to have taken that interpretation on it. I think they were like, we can say, like, look at what happened in the aftermath of that. This is how she became this person. When it's like, no, she was already strong. She was already savvy. She was already smart. She didn't need to be raped to grow into the person she grew into today. She needed strength to survive what happened to her. And, like, so I like, not to armchair write it, but it's like, I feel like the response should have been like, I would have survived anyway, with you or without you.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because because this is sort of like, Sophie Turner and Rory McCann are wonderful, and I loved that we got them. I love that we got them having a meeting of the minds after him leaving her in King's Landing, because that was such an important relationship for 2 seasons. But again, it's totally undercut because he's the guy who protected her in King's Landing, and yet now he's the guy who's going to say these terrible things, going to say these awful things to her, and be completely and utterly insensitive about it when he's not that guy, or at least that's what they've been telling us for 7 seasons. And also the fact that he's like, only one thing is going to make me happy. I'm like, really? Killing your brother is the only thing that's going to make you happy? That's what's been driving you this entire time? Because I thought it wasn't. I thought we'd move past that.
Yeah, I didn't we get to see you building a church 2 years ago? I accept that Clegane Bowl is written, but I think you lack hype.
I don't think that I feel like, instead of him sort of being this myopic, there's only one thing that's going to make me happy, and him not rejoicing for a second or not rejoicing, but like, he's the Hound, like, he doesn't smile, I get it. But for that automatically to be the only thing that's driving him, again, feels it feels like backpedaling, and it feels like an undermining of his character development at large. I'm not saying that he wouldn't want to go down to King's Landing and say, like, you know what, I have some unfinished business, and it's going to make, like, I need to, before I can be happy, I need to do this, and then I can be at peace, just for the sake of the world, because the mountain really needs to not be in it anymore. That I could have gotten behind, but they've returned to this rivalry with his brother to being the center, to being one of his driving motivations, when I don't know that it ever was, and now it is again.
I buy it as a continuing driving motivation because, ironically, it's a story of trauma. But at the same time, I don't buy that he wouldn't have been rejoiced in the victory of battle more.
Yeah.
That's what we didn't see.
I'm gonna need the Hound to crack a few more smiles before he inevitably dies some horrible death.
Yeah. Or crack a smile. He's gonna crack a smile as he dies some horrible death.
Alright. Well, I've ranted about that, I feel like, long enough. Post-feast.
Post-feast. Are we going Brienne first, or are we going Stark Family Council?
Stark Family Council.
Okay. Again, we're seeing characters that became incredibly savvy over the course of specifically the last 3 seasons. And we've gone from 2 players who play the Game of Thrones very differently, but very well. Those 2 being Arya and Sansa, because obviously not Jon.
Oh wait, I wanted to chat really quickly about Sansa and Dany and Jon.
Dany and Jon first? Okay.
Yeah. Because the Stark Family Council is until the next day. Not that.
Okay. So Targaryen Family Council.
Targaryen Family Council. Oh, this was so sad. Jon is so dumb.
Yeah. He's so dumb, and I did buy all of this.
Gonna tell my sister.
I think that's the reason. That's the reason I kind of glazed over it just now, is because Jon is that dumb. Jon is that noble. Jon is Ned Stark's son, even if he's not Ned Stark's, little swimmy dudes.
I guess this is... No, I'm just imagining Jon, but like fully made of sperm, just swimming around and forming, like Section 31, or Control, when it's all the nanites. Sorry, that's weird and gross.
Gross. That's totally gross.
Yeah, we don't have to delve into this too much, because the main thing I wanted to say about it was that Jon was very dumb and doesn't need to burden Sansa with this information. Like give me one good reason why he would tell Arya and Sansa this. And he doesn't believe Dany when she's the one who's been a ruler for way longer than she is.
Yeah.
And she's the one who's had to bear the weight of the name Targaryen for longer than he has. And then now Dany's begging, and now we have yet another strong, amazing woman begging a man to do something in the same episode. So we haven't gotten a Jaime and Brienne yet, but I
hadn't thought about it that way.
I mean, I don't like to look at things in such broad strokes like that, because obviously the context is very different, and this is kind of a situation in which I could see Dany being desperate in this way, but I don't think that she and Jon have enough chemistry to sell me on it that it's love. And ultimately, I think that it's indicative of who wrote this episode. And it wasn't a girl.
You know that neither you nor I are going to be working for D&D after this, right?
I know. But they might be listening. I don't like to...
We're burning our boats.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, so yeah, with that, let's scooch over that.
Yeah, let's... Well, I guess we're staying in the same night. Let's go Brienne and Jaime, part 1.
Weirdest love scene. I was happy it happened, like... in nominally I was very happy it happened, but I was also like, I literally didn't understand the dialogue. Like I heard the words, but I'm like, is Jamie just that drunk?
I was watching with my wife, and she said Jamie would have more game than that.
Would he though?
Exactly. He's been with exactly one more person than Brienne, and that was, it wasn't exactly like he had to try and pull.
I know. And I feel like over the last couple of times we've seen him with Cersei has been taking the lead.
I don't think that Jamie ever had game, and ultimately this is exactly what Jamie Lannister's prom night would have been like.
Well, he would have had two hands. But...
oh, there's that.
I don't know. I'm so glad it happened, and I'm so glad he got one moment of joy before he lost his soul. But
I think that moment, that this scene was possibly, this scene and the four of them at the table was possibly the most true to character moments of the episode.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I loved those four just because I like finally Jamie,
because they had fun.
Yeah,
because they enjoyed life
and
for a moment, and we haven't had that on this show without it being bittersweet since Bran climbed a tower.
Mord.
Yeah.
Except for Mord. But yeah, I agree. Like and those moments are so rare. And I guess maybe too, I should say broadly again, like I kind of just wanted a few more of those. I really didn't care for the sort of like sitcom ending for Sam and Gilly that she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Like,
whoa!
They're off to who knows where?
And John knows how to recognize that. They're probably off to Hornhill because, nobody's there.
Well, yeah, that's true. Hornhill, or I thought about Castle Black, and I'm like, are they going to tell us what happened in the Night's Watch? Like, are all those, like, you guys should build another wall. Like, if this has taught you anything, build another wall immediately. And just let the wildlings go back and forth. But...
yeah, I'm guessing they're going to Hornhill, and they're going to have a wacky neighbor.
John Bradley could sell me on a sitcom with Sam and Gilly. I think that legit might be John Bradley's last episode.
It might be John Bradley's last episode, and it might be Tormund von Tormundface's last episode. The actor has a name.
I can't pronounce it.
It has one of those weirdos.
Christopher Hypes. Nope, not gonna do it. He is absolutely a sponsor for Travelodge, though, as Johnny and I learned.
Yes, he is, and I love it.
Did you?
Just going back to The Long Night, with all three of these characters getting such happy endings, we could have lost them, and The Long Night would have been a stronger episode.
That's the thing. I kind of wish that that The Long Night was... I wish those deaths had happened in that battle as opposed to what we got later. Like, I 100%... I know it's sick of me to wish this, but I wish Missandei had died then. I wish that she had not been able to stay in the crypts and ran out. I mean, I feel like it's against character for her to run out and try to help Grey Worm, or that Grey Worm had somehow died or something. But, like, that was just...
I was okay with Missandei's death. I think that Missandei's death here, as opposed to The Long Night, and with Grey Worm having survived, raised the stakes of the Cersei battle.
Yeah, I agree. And
we can talk on that when we get to tomorrow, because we're on Game of Thrones time.
Right. So when I said that about John Bradley, because he tweeted the other day, or yesterday, it may seem like an odd thing to say, but I loved these two characters so much. Outside of Kit and me and everything else, I just loved them and what they shared, and it really does hurt to say goodbye. And I think that better not be it. I'm sorry.
That's either it, or any scenes he has aren't with Jon Snow. Hint.
Well, yeah, I think it's anyway.
But I think that's a series wrap for John Bradley.
Oh, he's so good, though. I feel like we didn't get him.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's one of my favorites at panels. He's so funny. And just so kind of whimsical and... Anyway. But...
And as bright as Sam.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, let's scoot over to Stark family meeting. Bouncing around a little bit here. The last of the Starks, which Bran contributes nothing.
Yeah. Bran mostly lives in the past now. So do show watchers.
Better. That had better not mean that Bran is going to time travel some bullshit.
I hadn't thought about that. Now I need drink.
It's super lame. I don't think it's going to happen. But just because it's not because it's lame, but just because I genuinely don't think so. It would be...
Bran is the Red Angel confirmed.
Bran has
never make
particles.
That joke. Jesus, Alex.
Oh no,
we're failing.
I do want to. I wonder if he's not gonna we're not gonna see him flashback and just have lunch with Ned.
Yeah,
Ned in the past. That'd be cute.
I did like this. This is the I live in the past now, but I did like the I stole this design from 400 years ago.
That was funny.
That was kind of cool. As far as the Stark family reunion goes, I think that both Sansa and Arya are more savvy than we will keep your secret, except for Sansa's going to immediately tell someone because she's still a 15-year-old girl.
Sansa was crossing her fingers.
From season 2.
Yeah.
That doesn't ring true.
Yeah.
To me.
I think, again, that I would... I think Sansa's character, despite what we talked about recently, is arguably one of the better developed and manifested in terms of an arc. And so I bought that she wouldn't be trustful of Dany, and I bought that she would tell Tyrion, but I thought it would take a little more time. And so for me, it was just a function of we have 10 minutes. Jon has to learn this secret and tell it, and everyone has to know in 4 episodes. Go.
I didn't buy... I bought that she'd tell. I didn't buy that she would say that she would give an oath and then tell.
Well, I think she raised the point, and I don't know if I agree with this, but I think the reason they had her say, "How can I swear not to tell something if I don't know what it is?"
Yeah.
I think it was childish for Jon to say, "I'm going to tell you this incredibly inflammatory and paradigm-shifting secret, but promise you won't tell." That seemed equally childish to me. And he'd better not fucking sit the Iron Throne at the end of this, because he hasn't earned it.
Mm-hmm.
He would not, but we can get to that later.
I don't buy... I don't buy from Sansa that she would, at least immediately, betray it to because family is what she has. And I think that even if she didn't agree with swearing, she did. And I think that would have meant something to her.
Exactly. I don't think Sansa is Littlefinger. I think Sansa studied under him and found him lacking and had him killed. For more reasons than just that he conspired against her family. So there's an article that's going to go up on Screen Rant soon, if it hasn't already, that somebody mentioned in our Slack channel discussing it, and it felt like blasphemy to me, but it makes sense if you look at what happens in the episode. Somebody suggested whether or not Sansa told Cersei of their plan to move back south to Dragonstone, and that's why Euron was lying in wait. I 100% do not believe that's the case, but
no,
the fact that people were more than one person thought that for a second, and I think the fact that people are getting that means they pushed Sansa to a level of darkness and manipulation that I don't think is warranted in her character.
Mm-hmm.
I really rebel against that idea, but I can see why some people would be like, she's kind of shitty today. But I agree with you. I think that I don't think in a million years she would help Cersei in any capacity, but
no.
I think you're right, and in the fact that she breaking her word like that, swearing to her brother, when she is up and down, like, tried to
when her
influence him based on the importance of family ties. Mm-hmm. And then she turns around and says, I don't like. Yeah, see, this whole conflict, I think just the other day, this whole conflict doesn't make sense. Dany can't do anything to the North. I don't know why Sansa isn't just sitting back and be like, yeah, sure, you, quote, control the North. Whatever.
Yeah.
This has always been the case. Just stay. None of the Northerners want to leave the North. None of the South wants to go to the North. No one does control the North. Like, that's the truth of this whole situation. They're, like, I can't imagine they pay a ton, like, I guess if we're talking about feudal contracts, I'm assuming they're paying a degree of, like, they're tithing something to the crown, but I don't know. Is that much?
Yeah, they are as realistically under the crown involuntarily as the Reavers of Iron Island, who, yes, we have sworn fealty to the Iron Throne, but we're still going to raid the fishing villages.
Yeah, and you're not going to do shit about it because it's a lot of energy to a problem that's not that big.
Yep.
This is also like armchair quarterbacking, medieval politics, economy, and strategy. But these are questions that I have, and if somebody's listening can tell me why Sansa needs this actual independence, or why Dany needs. Anyway, if somebody can explain to me why I'm completely wrong or why we're completely wrong about this, I would love to hear it. But it just seems.
I think Dany needs it psychologically, as she's written,
exactly,
as opposed to strategically.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Sansa turns around and tells Tyrion. Tyrion
turns around and tells Varys.
Yeah, which is like, Jon. Sam and Bran should have said nothing.
Yup.
So
Sam and Bran could have told Tyrion.
Yeah, Bran should have kept his fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Well, Sam knew anyway.
That's true. Well, no, Sam put it together after Bran.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Sam saw the marriage, but he didn't realize that Jon was Leon. Anyway, well, that's kind of Sam. I actually buy being emotional enough to tell Jon because of his brother and father.
Right, and who else would he tell?
Yeah. Well, and also, a lot of people have been really a gif that's been going around, or like whatever funny meme that's been happening is like, Ned Stark kept this secret for 2 decades. Jon Snow like literally turns around and tells 3 people. Yeah. And it frustrates me because this is sort of where we're really losing George's touch on this, whereas like there's no way Jon would not take a minute and appreciate what his father keeping that secret meant for his life and the fact that he kept it anyway.
Right.
It's kept him alive. Like he would have, like, I feel like Jon would have understood why Ned really never stepped between him and Catelyn, and would have understood why Catelyn was awful to him, because she would have expected him to be a potential threat to her sons, which he actively was. Mm-hmm. But he didn't know it. Like, the appreciation for that secret is so lost on everyone on the show, and I feel like that's a testament to the writers and not the actual character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Varys, I think
I called that the Varys and Tyrion scene. It was like a little West Wing moment. There's that second season episode, 16 People, where Toby learns that, spoilers, the president has MS.
Oh yeah, and who is it? Does Toby learn it and it's like 16 people knows everybody knows, or is it I keep saying Cersei, CJ? Is it CJ who makes that point?
I think it's CJ who makes that point.
Is that the one where it's the fall is going to kill you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that episode.
It's one of the best episodes of television ever. That's our required watching for this week.
Fall is going to kill you. Yeah, a friend of mine actually put that. I have no point mentioning that. So we forgot. I guess we're going in the right order. But we have to talk about the reappearance of my favorite person and the person who made this episode watchable for me up to this point, which is Sir Bronn of the Blackwater.
Yeah. Once again, I think Bronn's a little more savvy.
Then Bronn should be writing this show. Bronn made the most salient point in the entire 7 seasons, which is kill 100 people, they make you a lord. Kill 1,000 people, they make you a king. Yeah. It reminded me of Eddie Izzard in Dress to Kill when he talks about how...
the flags.
No. When he says, he was like, you kill 1 person, we throw you in jail. You kill 10 people, we put you in a padded room, and we watch you for the rest of your life. You kill 1,000 people, and we're almost going, well done you. We've been trying to kill you for ages.
I think that Bronn would have been a little more... Cersei's not going to give me what you promised. And I think he would have turned coat a little easier and with a little fewer threats. I also think they missed an awesome joke, which is what's better than 1 castle, 2 castles, and they give him the twins.
I know. I was like, guys, give him the twins. Please give him the twins, because if there is an appropriate person to take over that ratty-ass white trash castle with only ladies left inside it, it is Sir Bronn of the Blackwater. Can I get an amen?
Amen. So that's my thought on that. I liked the lead up to the... I really liked Jaime and Tyrion together in the lead up to this scene.
I just want you to be happy.
Because, again, we had some joy. And I've been waiting for years to make tall people jokes.
You're finally gonna have to climb for it. It was so funny.
That was peak Tyrion, and it was great.
It really, yeah. I could have done without Tyrion's "You're a virgin" line in the "Never Have I Ever" game, and the whole the what she liked on there made sense. But I like that Tyrion is sex positive, but be respectful. But. I think I've said this in previous shows. I just want the Lannisters to hug it out. I know it's not going to happen, but I just want the Lannister siblings to get to some therapy because they love each other mostly. Mm-hmm. And it was really wonderful to see before Jaime just goes and fucks himself.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see him and Tyrion behave as the brothers they did in the pilot when Jaime's like, we gotta go to dinner, hurry up. But Tyrion's like, I'm not done. And Jaime's like, don't worry, I brought them all in for you at once.
I liked that scene a lot. I liked Bronn being back a lot. I don't know how much more Bronn we get.
If this is all the Bronn we get, as long as he stays alive, I'm fine. If
mm-hmm.
Bronn,
as long as he lives to sit the Iron Throne.
That would be great. As long maybe my ideal situation for Bronn is that the rest we end this whole thing. We don't get a glimpse of Bronn. At some point, someone just throws the Iron Throne into Blackwater Bay, and then there's a post-credit sequence of zombies dragging the throne out of Blackwater Bay, and Bronn delivering it to Highgarden, and then Bronn just sitting in it.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with that.
Eating an apple.
Yeah, I just I like the fact that his character, I think, has been doled out in enough doses, or with enough, judiciously enough that I don't mind his static development. I don't mind that he's always this smart-ass person who knows better than everyone, who's the smartest person in the room 90% of the time.
Right. Whereas Tormund got a little Flanderized over the course of the last 10 episodes or so. Yeah,
they leaned a little bit too hard into his backwoods charm when Tormund mm-hmm. was never supposed to be dumb.
No.
He's just unsophisticated.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say something about Bronn that really got me excited. I think just his addition to their conversation when he just walks up. I liked his analysis of the situation when he's like, I'll still bet you that Dragon Queen wins at the end of the day. There's a really good Secrets and Lore video on YouTube that talks all about sellswords, and it's narrated by Jerome Flynn, and he narrates it obviously as Bronn, and he explains sellswords, but he also explains sort of the economics and the sort of the micro politics involved in being a sellsword. And he's like, listen, people think that we're dishonorable because the idea is that if you pay somebody to fight for you, they're honor bound. Like, they're not necessarily honor bound to stay with you. But here's the thing: if all the people that you pay are leaving, you're probably losing. So think about that. Mm-hmm. And then he also points out, he's like, he's like, well, yeah, honor seems to me like something that High Lords can do to easily press people into fighting for them, whether they're winning or not. And it was like, it just immediately made me have so much more respect for Bronn, because his life is not necessarily easy, and he's definitely an ambitious cutthroat, but he makes a case for that being the smartest,
the savviest
way to live. And I like the fact that while we have characters like Brienne and Jaime to a degree who believe in the nobility of knighthood and believe in that noble ideal, Bronn is a realist and Bronn is a cynic, and he has very good reasons for believing that. Because more often than not, Brienne's going to get taken advantage of. Someone like Brienne will get taken advantage of, whereas Bronn will not. If that makes sense.
Yep.
I might pop that video on our feed just because I like it so much. It'll give me an excuse to watch it again. But yeah.
And I guess the only other thing we've got then at Winterfell is Jaime's dumb goodbye.
Oh god, this was so
Jaime, who apparently studied at the Winterfell School of Communication and didn't say, "I'm not going down there to save Cersei. I'm going down there to kill her."
Jaime, who studied at the Tinder School of Ghosting.
There's that too.
Asshole.
Jaime, who makes his little walk of shame, climbs out the window basically.
The minute after they had sex the first time and he was staring at her and he wasn't smiling, I was like, come on, dude, just cuddle her for a minute. Give us that. And then, again, he sits there and I understand. I can buy sort of Jaime's, quote, addiction to Cersei, or just his desire of, like, listen, I can't just go and let her die. I have to go and help. Maybe I can talk her out of this. That still would have been a very tearful goodbye for him and Brienne, and he could have been like, and if Brienne had decided to push and say, no, you shouldn't do that, he could have been like, listen, I don't like, then I could have accepted the, like, Nymeria, goodbye, go away, I don't love you, leave me alone. I could have accepted that, but this just didn't even make sense to me. Like, again, this was an example of Jaime punching down when it came to Jaime. He's smarter than that, and there's a million other solutions to that would have been a little bit more sensitive to how special that pairing was.
Yeah. I don't have much to say other than the fact that, as we both said, we don't think it's incredibly true to character.
Yeah.
I do think that him saying, I'm not a good person, I think that's honest.
Very much
I think
so.
that was exactly how Jaime feels about himself, and he might have a little bit of the I don't deserve happiness going on.
Yeah, I guess I kind of wish they had painted that a little bit more artfully. But I
agree.
Yeah,
I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah, but I do.
They did very well with that one moment, and everything else around it was darts at a dartboard.
Yeah.
I did like anything else on this?
Nope.
Before we, I loved. I don't have anything to say about Arya and the Hound other than the fact that I liked Arya and the Hound. It was great.
Yeah, that was perfect, and I'm thoroughly tickled that they're on the road again.
Mm-hmm.
I really, in my head, it was like back in the saddle again. Yeah. But,
and then, I mean, I also don't have anything about Cersei and Ronnie.
Except I loved it. I love him so much. I will say I'm dropping a prediction. I think that Arya will help the Hound get into the castle.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Hound I don't think he's going to go down there and be like, hey, Jon, I'll fight for you as long as it gains me entrance. No. Like, no, he doesn't care about that. So.
No, he's going to go in the same way Arya went out.
Yeah. So I think that might be. I'm interested. I will be very, very pleased if the two of them team up to get into the castle. And if we don't see them until kind of Cersei's last minute, and it's just the Hound taking out the Mountain, and then Arya as Jaime taking out Cersei or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling Jaime's actually going to take out Cersei.
I think so too.
He'd fucking better.
Yeah. And from there, I think we move onto the water.
Yeah.
One more thing that I just didn't buy, and it's been talked about on the internets all over, but John and Ghost.
Shut up.
This is the one time I'm gonna say, fuck you guys.
Shut up.
That's no. So there's that.
There's
my dog was so angry that he just walked out of the room.
The party line is that we didn't have enough money and Ghost is on a green screen and blah blah blah, and there are just so many ways around that. It was
just the sending him north as opposed to Ghost doesn't like boats. Okay, that works.
Like,
stay at Winterfell.
Just not like you couldn't find one big white dog to brush his head against John's forehead and give them a moment. Moment.
I would have Ted Cooper was available. So yeah. From there, let's go to the water, and our loss of Rhaegal.
The minute they got in the sky and Dany smiled, I was like, oh fuck, they're gonna be right there. They're gonna be right there. And hey, sure enough, turns out when you leave your house completely unattended, less than a mile away from your biggest enemy who happens to have a navy.
Who knew that the Greyjoys had boats?
Color me surprised. I thought only Dany had boats.
Yeah.
Only the boats I've seen this episode have her flag on them.
Yeah. Rhaegal died to raise the stakes, and the raising of the stakes wasn't believable.
Exactly. Like,
Missandei worked for me, and we'll talk about that a little more. But Rhaegal did not, and we would have been the only reason that dragon survived last week is to die this week and make the Greyjoy, Golden Company, Cersei alliance more of a threat.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I don't think that the result is bad. I don't think that, making Dany this angry and this volatile and this sad, like this just heartbroken, I think that it makes her an underdog for the first time in a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. But I think, again, like this was compressed, and I think that was a throwaway death for Rhaegal. And it was really hard to watch because it was a meaningless death. Viserion went out saving, helping people in a completely unexpected way. It was the first dragon we'd ever seen die, and he went out in a really spectacular blaze of glory to a degree, because without him it probably maybe that Ice Zombie battle would have turned differently. I don't know.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rhaegal got hit by a log falling off a truck in the end of City of Angels.
Oh,
spoilers for City of Angels.
God, that movie. But and again, no one thought to leave an auxiliary force. No one thought that maybe we don't approach in broad daylight with two dragons literally announcing our appearance. They're hard to miss. No one thought they could make more scorpions and figure out how to do them better so you could load them faster. Someone should have thought of this.
Right. And just going back to plot as opposed to character choice for a second, I think it would have been stronger for Dany to have lost Rhaegal last episode and been willing to take on Cersei as the underdog, as opposed to raise the stakes by having a bolt out of nowhere take him down.
Yeah, it just makes me feel it's frustrating. I understand what a lot of people have said when they say that this episode makes them lose faith in the last two, because there just wasn't a lot of reverence for the characters this week, including Rhaegal. Or at least it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the characterizations were muddled in order to to move these chess pieces where they needed to be. And that, I don't think I've realized how closely and how emotionally attached I am to these characters, not necessarily in them living or dying, but in them playing out their arcs in a way that honors them, that honors their stories. And I don't feel like Missandei, I think, did, as much as I hate to say it, because the optics on killing the only woman of color on the show while she's in chains are not great.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. At the same time, I think that the death itself was strong.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a black person. I'm not a black woman, so I'm not that bothered by it. But I have to couch that in like I'm a white girl, so
yeah. So it hits a little less close to home.
My perspective is not as
right.
valuable on that, but
right. I think that having Grey Worm survive and Missandei survive only to lose Missandei here, unlike Rhaegal, I think was a good way of raising the stakes for Daenerys, for Grey Worm, and for the audience.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I just I don't know. I did like the last scene compared to the boat battle.
I think now that I did like the spears being shot through the boats, because that was like, I feel like that's an element of more modern warfare that made that a little bit more exciting. But this is totally nitpicking, but you can't swim if you're that tall, if you're that short, like not that distance. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I don't actually know that for certain, and I am not a little person. So, but that seemed the way Tyrion was dressed.
He also could have gotten pulled.
That's true. All right, well, forget I said that. I take that back. I know you will sink like a fucking stone if you wear any kind of plate and or leather.
Yeah.
I had to get that off my chest. No one has to care about that. It's just want to put that out there. But at the end of the day, I will, like, having now gotten some distance from it. I'm really sad about Missandei, but I think I'm sad. I think I'm sad. Like, I think I'm in universe sad. I'm not like this was bad.
Yes, I'm in universe sad about Missandei. I'm not in universe sad about Ghost and Grey Worm, or Ghost and Rhaegal.
Yeah, I'm annoyed about those.
Yes.
But I think now I'm in a position where I haven't, and this I think was true for the Mountain as well. Cersei has been somewhat sympathetic up until this week, because she's happy this week. She's all, Lion's gonna rule the land, Kraken's gonna rule the sea, Baby's gonna rule it all. I mean, I love it. Like, mostly because Euron is so ridiculous. But
I think we might be the most pro Euron podcast out there right now.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry. But yeah, probably I think you're right. It's okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I think that they've built Cersei up into she's a truer villain now than she ever has been. I think that the last shred of her humanity slipped away, and she's happy and she's reveling in it. And I think now we can kill her sort of without consequence, and it won't inspire much sympathy, which I think is maybe what they're aiming for. But same goes with the Mountain, whose public image was drastically improved by his brain damage and then positioned as Cersei's champion. Because when he became that, Cersei was a very sympathetic character, and you kind of liked it when he shoved that peasant's head into the wall after the peasant was talking about her walk of shame.
Mm-hmm.
But now that he's killed Missandei, fuck that guy forever.
Yep. Let's kill him again. So
before
Sandor Gregor next week.
Before we end, though, I want to ask you a quick question. So Varys is attempting to justify what I think he was basically, subtext was he was thinking about killing Daenerys, or finding a way to assassinate her, or just finding a way to depose her and shift all the power to Jon, because, and this is a theme from,
because he speaks for the small folk.
Right, sure. How many has he met? But he's not wrong. And the idea of someone not wanting power being the best person to have it is a good one. But what frustrates me is that the whole idea was that Dany was supposed to come over here and break the wheel and change things permanently and for the better. And ideally she wasn't going to do that by like murdering anybody who opposed her, but by creating some kind of new system. And even if Jon would be the better ruler, that's entirely possible. I'm still stuck on the fact that any absolute power corrupts absolutely. And also, even if Jon is great at this, that's not going to say his kids will be.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, how do you feel about Varys' justification?
I think that Varys' justification is honest to Varys. I think that he's and I'm going to preface this by saying I'm politically liberal. He's like a lot of people on my side of the aisle who will create policies based on what they think is better as opposed to what is the actual experience. So I buy it from Varys, and I do think he's thought that far, and that he knows that it's only going to be a temporary solution and that it is a wheel. But it is better to put the right person in now and work to improve than to let the wrong person sit the throne or make these horrible moves with the hope that with the perfect being the enemy of the good.
I like that perspective. I think ultimately it makes my problem with the show. In the sense that, like, if this show has been about, creating something, again, I will be frustrated if all we're going to get to is a good monarch on the Iron Throne, if that's what we've been working towards this entire time, because I think the show is, and the books have more than made the point that there have been plenty of good rulers, and it doesn't change things 100 years from now. Yeah, and I would say, I think politically you're correct, and that the most realistic thing they can expect is to like try and get as many good people in as they can and try and build as much of a legacy as they can to get as much progress as they can. But I will be kind of frustrated if the show's answer to all of the problems of Westeros, kind of on a spiritual, thematic level, is to put the less temperamental guy on the throne, I guess, or to not look at the fact, because at some point, like, Europe did that for a long time, then finally people were like, why don't we try spreading out the power a little bit so it's not so corrupting, and people aren't at the whim of who has a crazy kid or who doesn't. That's kind of the revolution I want to see happen. I need to see happen at the end of the show for me to be satisfied. It's for something systematic to change and not personal to change, I guess. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. But
yeah,
that's probably a good moment. Are you good to end on that moment, sir?
Yeah. So next week we'll be coming at you with, once again, unreleased title, Game of Thrones episode 72. We'll just call it Clegane Bowl. It's probably Clegane Bowl.
Yep. It had better be good. This had better be a really, really good sword fight. At some point, somebody better pick up 3 swords and fire a gun. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in with us week to week. I can't believe we only have 2 episodes of GoT Thrones left. Well, maybe 2. We might
two topical episodes of GoT Thrones left.
Yeah, 2 episode week. Oh. No, I'm even more.
And then we'll start right back over with season 1, episode 1. No, we won't. That's a lie. Yeah. So we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening, and yeah, let us know what you think.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah. That.
Bye.
Bye-bye.